Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm going to be talking about Vesta retrograde, which starts in Capricorn and moves backwards into Sagittarius. And this starts on the 7th of May and finishes on the 31st of July. And I'll be outlining what kinds of themes this transit will be highlighting to us. Now, before I go to the actual explanation of what Vesta retrograde will mean for us, I just want to clarify that astrology in itself doesn't affect us in any way. It's just like a map of what the energies around us are doing. So if we understand what the energies are doing, we can then make more conscious choices how we interact with the environment around us, and we can also become more aware of how our actions influence the bigger picture, so we can then choose our course of action more wisely. If we don't take any action to begin with, then nothing changes, things just carry on as they are. So astrology doesn't make anything happen, we have to work with it in order for things to change. Now, in terms of Vesta retrograde, for anyone who hasn't heard of Vesta before, she's one of 4 goddess asteroids, the others being Ceres, Pallas Athena and Juno, and they orbit between Mars and Jupiter, so they deal with the transformation of consciousness from the purely personal consciousness, and they help us to transform into transpersonal. By this, what I mean is we move away from just viewing through the world through an isolated lens and just looking through the perspective of ourselves, to understanding that we're connected with everything around us. So it's important that we become aware of how our actions have consequences, what kinds of actions they have, and then to transform the consciousness driving our actions so that we're taking part in life, we're engaging with life in a way that's conscious and will not create karma for ourselves. Now, Vesta herself deals with issues around devotion, personal integrity, and commitment to self. So by commitment to self, I don't mean that we do everything, so we only focus on ourselves at the expense of others. But what I mean is it's about our personal integrity, so making sure that what we're doing is aligned with who we are and not just going with the flow or trying to slide through life, not taking any responsibility and expecting things to just happen for us without taking any action. So when Vesta turns retrograde, we get a test as such, or we may find that circumstances start testing our integrity or testing our commitment to find out, do we stay true to who we are, and can we still say no when presented with something that we don't really want to do, but we go ahead with it anyway because it may seem easier than just saying no. So it's a time of looking within ourselves and seeing, where do we trade in our integrity and our authenticity for the sake of comfort? Where do we go with the flow, go along with what other people are saying, even though we don't really want to, because it feels easier just to conform with social approval than it is to remain true to who we are. So it's the whole test of, to thine own self be true, and understanding that if we want to become the best versions of ourselves, then we have to do the work ourselves. We can't expect other people to do the work for us, nor can we just expect things to magically happen for us if we're not taking any action. So with Vesta retrograde, this is a time for us to look at ourselves deeply and observe, where do we compromise on our integrity? Where do we agree to do something when we don't really want to do it? And where do we need to learn that to reach a stage where it's let your yay be yay or your nay be nay. If we don't want to do something yet we agree to do it, that internal no nullifies the whole point of it, so there's no point in even doing it because it's done with the wrong spirit or the wrong mindset. So during this time we need to look at ourselves and look at, where do we compromise ourselves, where do we fail to maintain our own integrity by agreeing to do something that isn't right for us or that we don't agree with. And if we do engage in these sorts of behaviours, identify where we need to address it and learn to accept that people may not like it when we say no to them, but if we're saying no because it's genuinely not the right thing for us, and as opposed to just being rebellious or being awkward, then at the very least we're being true to who we are. So we do need to be honest with ourselves here and look at sometimes we need to identify the reason why we give up on, or why we don't maintain our boundaries, why we don't stay true to who we are, why we just go with the flow of things and don't bother taking any action or making any effort to stay true to who we are. Because Vesta is the hearth, she's that fire, and if we don't stay true to who we are, that fire becomes dim and becomes a lot harder to stay true to who we are. So if we want to keep that fire in the hearth going, to keep that spiritual flames going strong, then we're going to have to learn to see or observe, where do we compromise ourselves, where do we agree to do something when we don't want to do it, where do we take the easy way out even though it's not going to get us anywhere, and how can we correct this, how can we learn to stay true to who we are, how can we learn to make sure that we don't compromise our own integrity by agreeing to do something that isn't right for who we are or isn't right in general. With Vesta starts in Capricorn, so Vesta in Capricorn is generally to do with structure and could be to do with career drive or desire for social status, but Capricorn itself is all about that personal integrity, of making sure that the external face we present to the world is merely an outward representation of our internal nature, that core of who we are. So Vesta here is about developing that personal integrity to begin with, to make sure that we know who we are and that we continue to take the necessary actions and continue to work hard to make things happen or to manifest the things that we need, but also to make sure that the things we're devoted to are right for us. They're not just something that we've agreed to do because it seemed like a good idea or didn't seem like there's anything better to do at the time. It's making sure that we are true to who we are and that we continue to take constant dedicated action towards the goals that we're devoted to. We don't just become lazy and lackluster, we continue to devote to the task at hand. And we also have on the 12th of June, Vesta will backtrack into Sagittarius again and will be here until the end of July, when Vesta turns direct in Sagittarius. So this will be a time of looking at our belief systems and making sure that what we're doing is aligned with natural law, to make sure that our beliefs or what we're doing is congruent with our beliefs. Because if we don't believe in something, what's the point in doing it? There's no point trying to do something to gain any kind of social cred or street cred if we don't actually believe in it. So it's also that Vesta in Sagittarius is also like a quest for that truth, to quest to understand the deeper or natural laws that we need to be aligned to in order to achieve that transpersonal consciousness. Because Sagittarius is the first transpersonal sign after the period where the goddess asteroids go to help us through that purification stage. So Sagittarius is opening out to transpersonal consciousness, open to the big picture, the wider world, and also looking at where do values from other cultures actually resonate with us, because the thing is, we're all conditioned by certain social values to begin with. These beliefs and values can be deconditioned, and sometimes this happens through encounters with people who come from a different background, a different cultural upbringing, different belief systems, who may have a more expansive view of things, or a greater understanding of the bigger picture that we need to incorporate. So Vesta in Sagittarius is a time for looking at our beliefs, deconditioning ourselves from the ones which limit us or aren't true for who we are, but also being open to new belief systems that could empower us further, as long as these beliefs aren't something that we're being conditioned into or being indoctrinated into. They're belief systems that are presented to us that may challenge us to broaden our perspectives and see things in a different way. So this is a time for making sure that we're devoted to the truth and nothing but the truth. because if we don't stay true to who we are, and if we don't pursue greater degrees of truth so we understand things in a larger context, then we limit ourselves, and we may even prevent ourselves from taking the actions necessary to be true to who we are and to set the necessary boundaries with other people, so that we're not tempted to agree to do something because it's easy or because we're feeling lazy. It's making sure that whatever we agree to do is the correct thing to do, both morally and ethically, but is also right for who we are as an individual, and something that we can believe in. So there's a fair amount to take on board there, but the crux of the matter is Vesta retrograde is a period where we need to look at ourselves and look at what are we devoted to. Is it right for who we are? If not, why are we still pursuing it? Or what was the motivation for doing it in the first place? And where do we need to develop greater spiritual devotion? So where do we need to incorporate spiritual practice into our lives so that we spend that time looking within ourselves, doing that, evaluating what we're doing, and evaluating the core sense of who we are, and making sure that whatever we're doing externally through our actions is aligned with that core place and is going to keep that spiritual flame within us growing stronger, so we draw more towards living through spiritual guidance rather than being tempted by a lot of the illusions of the physical world. So Vesta retrograde is that time of learning to see where do we invest our spirit in things which aren't real or aren't right for who we are, and where do we need to recall our spirit from that and invest it more wisely in something that is true to who we are, and to make sure that we're not just going with the flow of things, we're not just taking the lazy options through life. We actually develop that spiritual maturity and the ability to stand on our own 2 feet, so we appreciate our own personal strength rather than relying on other people to do the work for us. And through this we achieve that spiritual adulthood, we develop that core spiritual strength and resilience that keeps us going in the face of adversity. If we don't look at ourselves honestly and do the work of making sure that we're being true to who we are, and that we only agree to do things that we genuinely want to do, or genuinely is beneficial for both ourselves and the people around us, and then take the actions necessary to pursue the things that are right for who we are and honour our spirit, rather than tempt us with delusions of comfort and security because we've allowed laziness to creep in. But if we engage in the spiritual devotion and stay true to who we are, then we'll only do the things which are right for who we are, and we will maintain the boundaries necessary to sustain our personal integrity, so that we don't diminish our spirit, we don't diminish the light within us by agreeing to do things which aren't right. So may the Vesta retrograde bring you many lessons and a greater degree of personal integrity, and may it help you understand yourself better, so that you learn to say no when you don't want to do something, but also say yes when you do want to do something but you may feel a bit uncertain about it. So having that faith to do something which may be outside our comfort zone but will strengthen our spirit rather than weaken it. So may the retrograde bring you many blessings. Take care.